Well, good morning. Well, thank you for showing up. We've got one report out today, awesome, during the week of the eclipse. So you know my standard question, right? If we're going to make Denver water better, what do we need to learn how to do first? Garth? What's the first thing we need to learn how to do? Ah, beautiful. Excellent answer, yeah. And after we learn how to see it, what's the next thing we got to figure out how to do? Yeah, get rid of it, do less of it, right? So most of us are familiar with the traditional waste, right? We've talked about downtime. There's another waste that we do focus on, and that's the waste of injury and issues like that, right? So if we injure ourselves, not good, right? Not only from a personal perspective, but also from our ratepayers, right? So I do want to give a shout out to the HR team, particularly Sandra. She helped a lot by providing resources to look at how we do work from an ergonomic perspective. And hat tip to the team as well, because they really dove in and put some great improvements in. And with that, I will turn it over to Austin.
So yeah, I'll invite the team up. I want to give you guys a special thanks. Monday was probably around a 13-hour day. Appreciate you guys being out there and getting everything installed and done so we can stand over you and write down what you were doing. Really appreciate it. But with that, I'll turn it over to Sam.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad you came out to our hydrant RIE project. The guys on this right here, our small maintenance crew, we're working on standard work. So we had 3 points we kind of dealt with, and that's standard work on hydrant replacement. 2, how to determine the type of hydrant replacement we're doing and to figure that out. And shoring, making sure that we have our proper shoring so the job can get done in a safe manner and everybody makes it home. I want to thank this is the crew right here, that John Lujan's crew. And his guys, plus we have a couple extra foremans in there, and Drake, the planner. Also, we want to thank the people that are on the board for helping us out, people in the warehouses, the fleet, and people upstairs, Jim Chesley and like that, for just helping us out to give us information. So without ado, we'll go ahead and we'll crank this up.
Good morning. As Sam was saying, our hydrant replacement, currently we replace hydrants based on either the hydrant gets hit by the public, and the hydrant's an old hydrant with no parts, or the hydrant maintenance crews go out on their regular maintenance on it and find the hydrants are either inoperable or do not drain. That hydrant replacement currently was a 2-day process. We would start with replacing the property line valve, the main, hydrant T, and the hydrant branch, or excuse me, the hydrant valve. And the following day we would come in, replace the branch line and the hydrant itself.
Okay. John Lujan, Water Distribution Supervisor.
Paul Smith, Utility.
Audrey Wadley, Water Distribution Supervisor.
Jake Morton, Foreman.
Roger Murphy, Senior Operator.
Tom Graybill, Water Distribution.
Gino Della Croce, Operator.
DJ Lopez, Utility.
Jeremy Jordan, GIS Technician.
Lynn Zimmerman, Ergonomist.
And Darren Truax, T&D.
And Drake Denner, T&D Planner.
So our reason for action right now, there's no standard work. There's a lot of inconsistencies in the hydrant replacement process of when to do a full replacement, when not to do a full replacement. So too many inconsistencies in the process right now.
So our current state started out really without a game plan. Our water outage for the customers lasted quite a long time. And we didn't really have, there was dirt everywhere. We were just a little bit unorganized. So that was our current state, but we're better now.
Okay, looking at the picture, our ideal state would be for the hydrant mechanic to come out and to be able to repair the hydrant and get it done in a timely manner. Our target state, a couple of ideas would be to create plenty of working room, find lightweight shoring, create dry hole conditions using rock so there's less injuries, have less drive time, and we're looking into having materials delivered.
So this is kind of our ideal site plan we came up with. We ran a 6S to try and improve efficiency and safety on the site plan, and this kind of just shows an overview of what we have going on. So we've got the hydrant to be replaced here. We're trying to use the trucks to help provide safety for the work crew and stem the flow of traffic on both sides. Tools are out of the way, and as that previous slide showed with all the dirt, hopefully this will keep everything in one place so we're not moving it all over.
So as far as the experiments we did, Monday, the picture on the left, we went out, did a full hydrant replacement, took about 12 to 13 hours. We went back Tuesday and talked on how we're going to make it a 2-phase project. So the picture on the right is phase 1 of the project. We did the PL valve, the T, and the hydrant branch valve. So phase 2 will be Monday, and we'll go in and hang the hydrant in the branch line.
Okay, this picture is depicting where we as a team, we constructed a trailer to carry out the inshores. And it's working out pretty good. It has brackets in there to hold them because laying them down was a problem. So by building these braces to hold them, it seemed to work out well, but we're still tweaking it. We have a new design coming out that seems to be using the existing trailers that we already have. That seems to be like it's going to work out really well. And the photo on the bottom is supposed to be a picture of a warehouse coming out with the donkey, is the truck it's called, because it has a forklift on the back of it that'll have the material, and they can just drop it off at the job site. So that way we're not causing problems and causing injury to people, because it's kind of difficult climbing in and out of the 10-yard to get the material needed.
So during this process, we came up with a playbook. So we got 3 plays basically. Lots of thought went into that, and it was all metric driven pretty much. So when you look at the current state, the main driver was that we wanted to keep the integrity of the system. So by replacing, the PL valve, the hydrant branch T, and all the way to the hydrant, we're replacing a lot of lead joints, which is better for the system. But it takes 2 days. So when we went through our processes and stuff, that was kind of an unbalanced scorecard. So then we started looking at other avenues, and one was customer outage. One was, the crews working overtime because they're over there doing that. 2 weeks out of a month, they're on the daily leak, so they get overtime on that. Then 1 week out of that month, they're doing standby. So during the week that they're supposed to be not getting any overtime, that's when we'd be doing these. So it'd be 4 weeks there that they do that. That seemed a little bit overburdened on the folks. There was other drivers on that as well. So what we came up with was 3 plays. So the shoring was the main factor. As you all know, that once you open up a hole, it's constantly trying to cave it back in on you, just due from the forces. So if you keep it to one side only, it's a lot easier to shore. If you go to the T arrangement where you're doing the main up top and then you got the hydrant here and you got the inside corners, now you got 2 sides of that are wanting to cave in. And that was extremely hard to get for the dirt to stay just so we could put shoring in. So we based it off of that to go to the 2-day on the full replacements, and then the other days we went with 1 days. So to make it easy, a foreman goes out to the job site, he gets a work order for a Maximo, and he goes to mobile, and then he goes out and he does a field investigation. So the first thing he does is he checks the hydrant branch valve. If the hydrant branch valve is working and shuts the hydrant off, then he can just do a hydrant only. That'll be play 1. That's a 1-day job, fairly simple. You just cut right there at the hydrant and you install a new hydrant. Now if the hydrant branch valve is bad, then he goes to the T. So he's got to replace the T sometimes if it's lead. If it's an MJ, then they can keep the T in. We're still looking at a rectangular hole in both instances, so we don't have that T shape for our shoring. The third playbook will be is if the PL, which is only about 5 feet away from the hydrant T, if that's bad. If that's bad, then we do a full all the way around. And our thought process on that was, you got to go out there and you got to do a hydrant only, and then you got the PL over here on the other side that's bad. That's still 2 days worth of work. Why not just replace the whole thing and still only take 2 days to do it? So that's how we came up with the 3 different plays. It's really, we didn't base it off of age or any other thing because we really wanted to make sure that you replace things when they need it and not just based off of some statistics out there that things do fail. You want to get them right before they fail. That's the whole idea. Obviously, we can't do that, but all the time. So.
Okay. Came up with an aggregate plan for a hydrant install. And what we came up with is, first of all, hydrant only. We bring the truck out. That's 2 yards of crushed 3/4 inch granite, about 15 to 20 pieces of hydrant rock, and we have them dumped out right at the dot. Then we load out the hydrant and the muck, send him to the yard, and he comes back with 2 yards of blacktop. So then we came up with the hydrant T, and then the hydrant T with the PL, and they had the same with 3 loads. We send him out, and he brings the 2 yards of crushed granite, the 15 to 20 pieces of rock, hydrant rock, have him dump that. We load him out with 10 yards of base. We load him out with 10 yards of muck with the hydrant. Send him in the yard, he brings back 10 yards of base. You dump that, send him out again, he brings back 3 yards of blacktop. And that's down to 2 trucks. We bring down to 3 trucks. And then that comes down to just 3 loads. And at the end, we'll have our hydrant, the topsoil, and we're working with the plan with the yard, and they're going to send out 6 40-pound bags, and then we'll do our topsoil. And that's what we came up with.
So there were a couple of ergonomic issues that we looked at. One was there's lots of heavy objects that need to be moved from the man truck to the site. And so we tried to look at ways they're awkward and heavy to carry. So we looked at different ways to bring them there. We tried a cart. We just had this one on hand, and it wasn't the ideal cart. It flips to be a cart you can push like so, but we're going to look into a smaller cart perhaps with locking wheels to get heavy objects to the site. The other thing was lowering heavy objects down. So the demo saw is heavy and you have to lower it down or reach up to get it. And we looked at a rope and a clamp, and that wasn't ideal as well, but we're going to look at other ways that we could lower that down safely without causing any harm. And then the other thing was we found hearing protection. The noise in the hole when you're using the demo saw or even out on the street exceeds 109 decibels, which is more than the earplugs will protect for you. And so we found these that will be adequate for ear protection, and I recommend that they use them in the hole. The person who is using the saw as well as the other person who's down there, or if you're on the street and you're standing next to someone who's using the impact or the demo saw to protect your ears as well if you're close to that person. Then we also looked at shoring and compressing the shoring rather than doing it with your body, to use either the equipment, or we're looking into valves that would make that more easily compressed, as well as not compressing the shoring completely so that there's not as much effort used. And I think they found a way to fit that onto the trailers. And then also, 2 people to lift anything over 50 pounds. That would be to move the shoring boards or the trash pump or other objects that are over 50 pounds. And definitely, they wore their solar eclipse glasses on Monday. And we made and then there's 2 other issues that we're currently looking at as far as ergonomics, and that would be the ergonomic pneumatic ladder racks that pull down or have been installed a little bit too high. And so we're looking at how we can address that issue. And also in the newer man trucks, there's a shelf that pulls out, and the heavy pump sits on that, and 2 people can stand on either side and easily and safely lift it out. But those shelves have been broken for some reason, perhaps the vibration of the vehicles. But we're looking into working with Fleet to try and correct that problem so that it's a more ergonomic solution rather than reaching in and twisting.
So what we have left to do is train crews on hydrant install by Tom. To be determined. Train crews on lockout tagout removal by Drake by September 11th. Topsoil bags with Sam and Chris by Monday. Wheeled cart by September 11th with Lynn. And then vehicle upgrades for ergonomics by Lynn by September 24th.
All right, so here's our metrics. Our first one is we need to, we have 17 crews that we need to train, and we've gone through that with our valves, how we're going through. We have a crew that first we train them for a month, and we really only get 1 to 2 weeks out of that with our day call and night call because they're not available. So we'll go that, then they'll go to actually running their experiments, and after that they become the crew that trains the next crew that come on. So it'll take quite a while. I think our original plan is a little over 2 years to roll through all these that are coming through. So we got 17 crews to do. I think this is the first rapid improvement event where we got more than 10 safety improvements, so that was nice. But kind of cheating, we had Lynn help us a lot with ergonomics, so that was a lot of them. I think like 14 of them were just ergonomics, but we got 22 total. I think the other big one there in the safety issue is we now have all-sided shoring. We haven't traditionally done that before. OSHA requires that, but we have all-sided shoring now with the inshores, and that makes it a lot safer for our employees when they're in the hole. So I think that's a big one. Customer outage. As Tom went over, when we do the different playbooks, we went from an average of 8 hours. With our new plans, it's going to be 3 hours. That's huge. That's 63% reduction. That's a big one. And 1 day installation, we went from 2 to 1. As you can see, there's an asterisk there. I need to explain that a little bit. We have the different playbooks, and the first playbook is just to replace the hydrant. We have that as a 1 day job. I suspect as we go through this and we improve this process and we cut out a few more efficiencies that we have and just choreographing everything, I suspect that one's going to go down to about 6 hours. So that's going to be less than a day. Our second playbook, where we're going to replace the hydrant, the branch valve, and the T, that's a 1 day job. So that's going to be that. And then the last playbook where we're going to place everything in the PO, that's a 2 day job. And as Tom went over, that's mainly because of shoring. We can't safely shore the T-hole. So we need to do that. And that's not, the second day is not a full day either. As you can see, when we did that on Monday, it was a 12, 13 hour day. Of course, we don't want to do that. A lot of overtime. It's asking a lot of our crews. These maintenance crews, currently right now, out of 4 weeks, 3 of them, they're on call. They never know if they're going to be home or not, waiting to get called. And then that 4th week is the week that they're not on call. And then when we're really asking them to do this kind of work, because that's interruptible work, or non-interruptible work, we don't want them working overtime then. That'd be 4 weeks in a row. We got to have that life-work balance. So that's where the 1 day comes from in the asterisk. And productivity, we have that at 17. We improved it 17%, very simply by eliminating 1 person. We did the cycle time, tack time. With the waste that we had, we could easily remove 1 member of the crew, so we got it down to 5. So that's the 17%. What that doesn't reflect is there's a couple other things. We do have some efficiencies that we work through with just choreographing the product. Those are yet to be determined. We need to do a little more time ops so we can know those numbers for sure. So I feel we'll have improvement there. And just working through it and just being smarter. But at the same time, you got to remember, we shortened the time it takes us to do this, but we added a lot of safety features. Doing 4-sided shoring is not quick. It takes a long time. They're heavy. You get a lot more thing. Doing a lot of this ergonomics takes more time, but it's safer. And we're still doing it in less time. One other metric that's here, or not here, that we could maybe look at, we don't really have the numbers, but with breaking these up into 3 different playbooks, we're also saving money on materials. We're just doing a hydrant now, and that's going to be a majority. That's going to be the norm. These playbooks 2 and 3, those are going to be small percentages that we do that on. So, now we're talking 2 less valves we're replacing. And then what's a valve? I think Tom told me the other day, Tom Rude, what are they, $2,000 a piece for a valve? I think you mentioned that. So 2 valves, there's $4,000 there plus a T. Less pipe. So we have a lot of material savings. So
I think that's maybe a metric we look at too, just material savings. Next slide. All right, insight. What did we learn? You know, I think the big one surprised a lot of people was the amount of decibels of noise. So, you know, earmuffs and having, we got some earmuffs that we could wear with the hard hats that are easy for them. They're around the neck, so that's good. Obviously, the eye protection is a big thing. We proved this week that eye protection is important. We did have an incident. Fortunate enough, he was wearing eye protection. If he wasn't, that would have been a serious injury. So we're very lucky there. You know, laughter's good. I really like that one. I will say this crew, being in several rapid improvement events over the last year, we laughed in the morning all the way to the end. It was just good, you know, and so we had a lot of fun. Apparently I could do anything in 10 minutes. That's been a fun one too. Now look, you know how people feel, you know. I don't know where that came from. I guess a couple times I said, give me 10 minutes, I'll get it done. So, you know, I believe everybody felt this event, we have a lot of improvements in it. And look at that, a lot of optimistic confidence accomplished, so there's good there. The values, you know, we hit all the values, but I think the one that stands out to me is excellence. Several conversations led to good results. This is the first time I've been in an event where, look how big the group is, first of all. We sat there and we had good conversations and everybody was involved and engaged and willing to give their ideas instead of just going with the flow or fighting it. That group didn't do that. And when you have that many people involved trying to work on a common goal to get better, it works. You know, the good thoughts came up to the top. So that's the big one, I think. Next slide. And that's Tom, you know, resting on a 13-hour day in the shade. So, so we got any questions? Alan? Great questions. For the first part of your questions, of that 20-part question. Just kidding. No, the age and all those factors you were talking about that could affect it were discussed. What we didn't want to do is just state, okay, if anything after this date, we're replacing, and have a thing, because there's a lot of expertise over here and a lot of subject matter experts. And they looked at it and said, hey, you know, some of the older stuff is better than some of the new stuff. What we're relying on there and what we're really doing is the supervisors and the foremen are going to go out there. Once they're given that, they're going to go do an evaluation on that. They're going to look at the as-built. They're going to look at what type of valve it is, et cetera, et cetera. Let that subject matter expert, the people with the field experience, they're making that call. If they feel it needs to be replaced, then we're going to do it. If they feel it's in working order and we're good, then we're not going to. Does that answer that part? And then the last part was, the flow test. We didn't consider that. But, you know, that's a good option, and maybe we should do that. So I'll make a note of that. We could discuss that further. And if we need to, we get the lab involved in that. Does that answer that question? Joe? Okay, we're great. Okay. Any other questions? No? Well, thanks, everybody. Give these guys a hand.
That is all we have for you today. Thank you for coming out.